On November 5th, Frau gathers her notes from the past few months and begins writing a detailed report about how she ended up trapped in a secluded mountain cabin. It all started in May when she went on vacation with two friends and their dog, Lynx. Uncomfortable around animals, Frau found it awkward to interact with Lynx. When they reached the cabin, her friends decided to visit a nearby village pub, leaving Frau behind with the dog. Out of boredom, she attempted to pet Lynx, but he snapped at her. She spent the rest of the day smoking, doing beauty care, and exchanging uneasy glances with the dog before heading to bed early. The next morning, she woke up to Lynx crying at the door. Letting him out, she soon realized her friends had not returned. Worried, she set off toward the village with Lynx leading the way. Suddenly, Lynx whimpered in pain, though no clear cause was visible. As she continued forward, Lynx refused to follow. A few steps later, she collided with an invisible wall. Confused, she reached out and confirmed there was a barrier preventing her from going any further. Strangely, there were no alarms or signs of distress from the villagers. No matter how much she pushed, she couldn't break through. Exploring further, she discovered a farmhouse with two people, but the barrier also stopped her from reaching them. Her voice didn't carry beyond the invisible wall, and the farmers appeared frozen in time, though water still flowed from a nearby tap. Accepting defeat, Frau returned to the cabin, smoking in frustration as she realized Lynx was now her only companion. Refusing to believe she was trapped, she attempted to break through the barrier again, unsuccessfully. That night, she heard a strange sound outside. When she opened the door, she found the barrier had now surrounded the house. Panicked, she screamed, only to wake up in her bed. Lynx greeted her as usual, but she couldn't recall what had truly happened. Reality felt like a haze. Determined to understand her surroundings, she used binoculars to observe the area. The farmers hadn't moved. She concluded they, along with the villagers, were dead. She thought about her missing friends, wondering if she should have gone with them. Just then, Lynx started barking and ran off. Following him, she discovered he had found a cow. At first, she was afraid, but eventually she befriended the animal and led her back to the cabin for milk. She named the cow Bella, recognizing both the blessing and the burden she now carried. Desperate to escape, she took her friend's car and drove toward the village, hoping speed would allow her to break through. She even saw an abandoned vehicle on the other side, fueling her hope. However, the car crashed into the barrier, leaving her injured and more hopeless than before. For 10 days, she tried everything to find a way out. Eventually, she had to accept the harsh reality. No one was coming for her. At her lowest, she considered ending her own life, but chose to survive in honor of her lost friends. With supplies stocked in the cabin, she decided to make the most of them, planting a potato farm. Lynx, her only friend, eagerly helped dig the soil. Days passed. She wound the clocks every morning, keeping track of time on a calendar. On May 30th, as rain poured all day, she stayed inside. That evening, she heard a strange noise. Armed with a knife, she investigated, only to find a drenched cat meowing outside. Taking it in, she adopted the cat, adding another companion to her lonely world. Over time, she tried to hunt for food, but her first attempt left her injured, and the deer escaped. Exploring the barrier's edges, she discovered an abandoned truck, but the invisible wall blocked her from reaching it. Gradually, she mapped out the enclosed area, allowing her to travel efficiently without leaving the animals unattended. She scavenged from empty cabins, gathering supplies to sustain herself. Despite the isolation, nature became her solace. Lying on the grass with Lynx under the warm sun, listening to birds sing, she felt a deep connection to the world around her. However, her first successful hunt haunted her. She couldn't bring herself to write about it. One stormy night, she struggled to sleep. The next morning, she discovered the cat had given birth. She named the kitten Pearl, watching as the tiny creature grew into a beautiful cat. Over time, Frau realized she had replaced her old responsibilities with caring for the animals. As the months passed, survival became more demanding. She harvested hay for Bella, a task that took weeks and left her exhausted. At times, she was overcome with despair, but refused to give up for the sake of her animals. Depression weighed on her, but Lynx's unwavering presence helped her push through. Autumn arrived, bringing nightmares and illness. She caught the flu but was comforted by Lynx, who never left her side. As winter set in, the first snowfall came and went, followed by relentless winds that made sleep impossible. When she finally stepped outside, she found Pearl dead. Heartbroken, she buried the cat under Lynx's watchful eyes. Later in the season, she spotted a fox near a stream, preparing to hunt. But memories of Pearl's death overwhelmed her, and she couldn't bring herself to pull the trigger. She realized she was the only creature in the forest who understood morality, and she chose mercy. In the depths of winter, Bella gave birth to a calf. Though the season was harsh, the animals gave her purpose. Even when seasonal depression drained her, Lynx's presence kept her going. As the snow thawed, she decided to move to a new cabin in the meadows, gathering her animals and setting out toward a fresh start. In the beauty of the pasture, hope returned. For the first time, she felt at peace. She stopped taking notes, living fully in the moment. But by October 16th, she resumed her writings, her memories of recent days already fading. As winter approached again, she reflected on the passage of time, becoming more philosophical. She noticed a white crow among a flock of black ones, an outcast much like herself. She began leaving food for it, sympathizing with its loneliness. 2 years passed. By then, she had forgotten her old life and abandoned any hope of being rescued. Moving to another house, she sought change, but the magic of the first summer never returned. Then one afternoon, while returning from a walk, Lynx suddenly ran toward the house, sensing danger. By the time Frau caught up, she was horrified to see a strange man slaughtering Bella's son with an axe. Lynx lunged at the intruder, giving Frau a chance to retrieve her weapon, but she was too late. Lynx had been killed. Enraged, Frau shot the man dead before collapsing in grief over Lynx's lifeless body. She buried him as Bella mourned her own loss. The man's body, however, she discarded off a cliff without a second thought. Numb with sorrow, Frau relocated with Bella and the remaining cat. Without Lynx, she was left alone with her thoughts. In the present, she admits she has moved on, but continues to cherish the memories of her animals, drawing strength from them. She ends her report on February 25th, having run out of paper, and steps outside to feed the white crow.